Really? Hmm. That's great, I guess. Welcome everybody who is here. Appreciate your patience with us. We've been learning how to change our location to improve our location. So it's like surgery, it has to get worse before it gets better. In moving here, we dropped our computer and messed it up, thinking we could fix it. We didn't fix it. It took forever. We ended up getting a whole nother computer and set everything up differently. But at a better location, which we can service later in that day instead of being 30 miles from here and trying to do something there, which that has been difficult to do, even though the live stream there is where it needs to be. It's at the location that everything's happening. It's still so I've got to try to figure out how to be more involved with that.
I think with that one, they're gonna have to live stream after shop hours.
Probably have to shut everything down, yeah, because I'm uh, you name it, collectibles is very very involved with the people that come there. And so anyway, this is not you name it collectibles. This is Straight Arrow Repair, and we have done nothing but try to get better um, and leave information out there for very very low cost. Here, yeah, there's no way. I mean, Christina, we're not going to count my time. The the live streams are they don't pay anything, not really. So what we're doing is trying to set up a situation where people can ask if they want to anything that they want to ask a repairman, and I still encourage that. No matter what uh, we end up talking about, you can always ask a question in the middle of it all, and I'm happy to stop. It's not so. One of the things that I want to say is we've been talking about uh, quite a bit the last few months on people that in my life that are not around anymore. And I'm glad that I paid those debts that I had to those people. I feel like I still owe them more, but I don't need to take up your time uh, with that. But it is something that I felt like I wanted to do to declare how I felt about those people that are gone now. And so after that, one of the things that came up many, many times is people asking me questions regarding videos. And I respond to as many of those as I can. My wife does some. But this, like I say, consider a lot of times the videos that we're in, the circumstances change from we have time to take time to show you what we're doing, or we have permission from the customer to do that. But the customer has a right to change their mind. And the position, that we're in, time wise, changes. And so sometimes there's some discussion about why didn't you finish the video? Why did you? Because the circumstance changed. I don't have people out there that are always willing to have their lives exposed. They're worried that they just don't want people knowing everything about them, and I understand that thoroughly. I do. Sometimes the habits that I have, I don't really want other people to be, knowing everything about me. But I've been willing to do that because I'm trying to leave something behind that would um, be beneficial for other people. And this is what this particular live stream is going to be about. And that is about a video or several videos now that I've done with releveling homes, particularly mobile homes. but homes also. And what I'm using is not a laser level or anything like that. Although I do have lasers. Underneath a home, you generally don't have it serves no great purpose because there's not any particular place that you can put that you can get coverage everywhere because the piers block off your being able to see. You would have to have a laser that moves. Even then, you would have to move all the way across from one side of the house to the other in a straight line. I mean, I'm sure that it could be set up, but it'd be a massive undertaking. So, again, low tech is far more beneficial, and I'm a big fan of the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. So many years ago, in drywall and metal stud, I learned how to use water levels. And those water levels are generally with like a 15-foot, maybe 20-foot small line and a reservoir that's about the size of a coffee cup. Um, and what you do with those water levels is you set the water level and then you set a benchmark all the way around the room. You're not trying to get the actual line where you're setting that, say, acoustical ceiling or soffits, different size soffit heights, or a tray ceiling. You're not using it to set that dead on line. Now you can still use, in that particular instance, you can use a laser and set it up and adjust it and set it up exactly where your acoustical ceiling is going to go or your metal, or be down an inch. But what you would normally do with a water level is set what you would call a benchmark all the way around. And then you measure up from that benchmark up to it. So you would find that by measuring down to, and it would say AFF, after finished floor. And then you have to know what is the finished floor height. So you go from concrete and then you go thin set and then ceramic tile thickness or marble or whatever, and it will tell you in the prints what that thickness will be. So that benchmark or that height of that soffit or that height of that acoustical ceiling or even a metal stud ceiling would be after the finished floor. So you would need to know the thickness of the thin set and the ceramic tile, let's say, and that would be like what, 3/4 of an inch, maybe 7/8, depending on the thickness of the tile and how much you need to level up. So you would allow 7/8 plus, and then you would do your math up to that benchmark, and say it's, instead of 9 foot, it's at 5 foot, and you measure for minus whatever it takes to get to that mark from the 9 foot. So you're subtracting. So I know I'm starting to throw some of you guys off, but that's what you would use. So I would take the time to take you to a dry erase, but it would take even more time. But whatever that benchmark was down to the finished floor, you subtract that or add to that to get to your 9 foot in height or whatever height that you needed to be. And then you would have to allow for the drywall, again, finished drywall. So it was a common thing to use a water level. And if you had a regular water level for acoustical ceilings, most of the time they're like a 20-25 foot line on them. And you go ahead and do a whole room that way. And then you measure up. And then you put in string lines, what they would call jet lines, which are really, really small lines. And you can set everything to it. You can set an inch down so that you don't, touch it, and set, maybe have one come loose a little bit and pull the line down and get everything you have down. So you set it down an inch or a half inch, and then you set it up above that line. This is a very, very common thing in metal stud and drywall with a low tech way of dealing with it. And you can use lasers all you want, but if you set that laser out of level or somebody bumps it and you don't adjust it, because you could, believe me, I've seen shopping centers where the laser was set improperly, or the even what they back in the day they would use. Why am I drawing a blank? You would go sight through it and set your level, but if that thing got bumped or if it wasn't dead on level to begin with, you're spanning a long distance. Guess what? I've seen whole shopping centers have to be changed. I was the one who had to change them. So lasers have to be calibrated. They have to be, generally calibrated. If they're of any value, they have some need to be calibrated. And it can be anything electronic can mess up. So here I am, still many, many years after I've gotten out of the consistently doing metal stud and drywall, I'm using water levels. And I use it for relevels to get a home level. And a lot of people have asked, well, how do you know where to start? Okay, well, first thing I do is I get under there, set my level to generally the center of those bottom of all those floor joists, or in a double wide or single wide home, the bottom of the frame that holds the floor joists, because the floor joists themselves can have arches in them and twist one way or another. If it's a very old home, there could be sags on the outside. So you set the frame. That frame generally is what you want to set to. So you go to the middle of the frame and you start checking everywhere else. There will be at least 2 frames on a single wide, and 4 of those frames, 2 per single, that put together to make a double wide. You go into the center and you start checking. Oh, well, that one's higher than here. This one's lower than here. Wow, this whole section is too high or too low. And you have to decide at that point, if this has block on it already and it's higher than I am here, that means I'm low here. I need to come up. Because if I go down, I'm going to hit the block wall or crush the skirting package that I have. You see where I'm at? I have to decide. Now, when I do that, I make a decision as to what I want to go with. If the majority of it is already pretty close level, but the middle is down or one end is down, then I want to stay with all the rest of the area that's level and use that as what my water level should be at. And I'm going to show you what a water level and how to make one, which I've done a video on that. So when I'm doing that, I'm taking into account that I have block wall or some kind of skirting, and it doesn't always mean that I can go with that. I don't generally drop the house down and break out block. So if I have the majority of the house already where it needs to be, then I go up with the rest of the house. And if there's a larger gap, then it has to be. And on the back part, it has to be that way. So you have to make those choices. And if you have to, sit down and draw it out. You have 4 frames, 2 per half. This is down, when I set it to the middle of that basic middle of that frame, in the middle of the double wide or in the middle of the single wide, then I take it and I start saying, well, okay, it's showing the water is a ½ inch above the frame over here, above the bottom of the frame over here, and then 1 inch over here. You can literally draw that out and you can make a decision. It's like, oh, well, all of these are about 1 inch too low. They need to go up or down. You have to decide then, hey, this is where my best decision would be to bring this up or bring that up. But we have to get to that point where we can use the water level, and that means building it and then understanding what you have to make sure that it's doing its job. And so I went to Lowe's and I bought some more parts, albeit slightly different than what I have on the video, because I want it to be as simple as possible. And we've done that video on the outside. This one's going to be inside, and everything that I got at Lowe's. And I have access to the largest Lowe's in Arkansas, the very largest Lowe's in Arkansas. But I didn't go there. I did not go there. Okay, I went to one of the other Lowe's, and you don't have to go to Lowe's. You can go to hardware stores and do the same thing. So one of the things I want to show you, the basic start, is this little thing right here. This is a 4-inch to a 3-inch adapter. So you can literally put a 3-inch pipe in here and a 4-inch pipe in here. All right? Does that make any sense? What that does is allow me to have a reservoir like this, and I can put, this is a 3-inch test cap. All right, I can put the 3-inch test cap on here and it won't let me do it. Okay, but if I put it in here, see how that works? That took a lot of me playing with a lot of different scenarios. This is the simplest one. So what I'm going to end up doing is taking silicone and put it all along this edge right here. Okay, and I'll seal it all up. And then I'll put it down in here, and then whatever excess comes, I'll just smear it all the way around to make sure, and then let it dry. Really won't take that long to dry. And then that'll be sealed in there. All right. Now, that's the reservoir. I can make the reservoir, and I will make the reservoir higher. What I can do is find a piece of 4-inch pipe and put it up here. Now, my other one, I'm going to do that, but because I'm not happy with only having this little bit of area to adjust this thing. I have to slide wood under it to get it to the height of where that water level is. So now the water level will be connected to this, and I'll show you how that is happening too. And I'm using colored water, but we'll talk about that. But again, this reservoir is not very deep. I don't like that. So I'm going to encourage you, if you can, I know it's going to be kind of odd to find just a little short piece of 4-inch. You need to be, I would say, that much higher and have more water in it. That allows you to pour water in, and literally when you have your water level off to the side of this, your other end, the clear hose, when you have it to the side, you can just adjust it until you see that water level get to the bottom of the frame that you have. And if you have that, if you don't, you have to move this up and down. And you will have seen me do that in the videos. I would slide material until I get the water level on this side even. But if I have that reservoir deeper, I can just add some more water, colored water until I get there. That gives me that ability. And not just, so I'm going to have to, so I have this small area right here to make a reservoir, but I got to put an attachment to get the hose to it. So that makes it even smaller, like from here to here, maybe 1.25 inches, inch and 3/8. It's not enough. I would like it to where I don't have to adjust this part up and down. I can literally pour more water in it. Does that make sense? So if you can, you will end up putting, after you've sealed it all up, put another piece of 4-inch in here. Okay. And maybe bring it up to here. And that gives you that much area to add water. Water's not expensive, nor is the food coloring. Now, this is all sealed up. If you want to put that added 4-inch, you can. If you have a hard time finding 4-inch, try to find a plumber and say, hey, man, I just need a little short scrap piece of 4-inch. They're going to look at you like you're kind of silly, but that's what you're doing. This test cap is just meant to make sure that it will hold some kind of air pressure and then there's no leaks. It's a great way to check your plumbing, but this is not, we don't care about that. What we want to do is have a way to seal that up. If you want to cut a piece of metal in there and do the same thing, you can do that. But this is something real simple. It's a test cap, it says, and it is a 4-inch test cap to fit inside the 4-inch part. Okay, you can only put it there. If there was a 4-inch pipe in here, then you could block off that 4-inch pipe with that test cap. Now, how I'm going to get that water from this reservoir to a clear line, it's a little bit of a tricky thing. I've done several different ways, but this particular one is a 1/4-inch by 1/4-inch barb to MIP. Okay, the barb part is right there. MIP is the threaded part right there. Now, do I really care about the threads? No, I don't. All I'm going to do is get a drill bit that size right there, just a little bit bigger than that, just a shade. And then I'm going to drill through and I'm going to mark down here where the bottom of this, by measuring this way, bring it off to the side. And I want to be above that line, just above that line, at the bottom of that reservoir. Okay. And I'm going to stick that threaded part through in there. And then I'm going to seal that up with silicone too. On this side and on that side, I'm going to seal it up good. And it's going to be really tight. All right. Now I have that 1/4-inch ID, inside diameter, barb. All right. Now we have a reservoir, we have a part for the clear line to sit to, connect to. And then the odd thing about it was I couldn't find 50 foot without paying a lot of money. So you end up, instead of buying 50 foot, I end up buying 100 foot of clear vinyl tubing. This is 1/4-inch ID by 3/8 OD. All right. You don't need 100 foot. I don't recommend you just don't need 100 foot. You need 50 foot. 50 foot will let you do 50 foot that way and 50 foot that way. That's 100 foot. There's no scenarios usually where you're going to use 100 foot. You can use 100 foot. You're going to use a lot of water on 100 foot. You're going to use a little bit with 50 foot. Again, that's where that reservoir being deeper is forgiving. But this is, as I'm saying, 1/4-inch ID by 3/8 OD, which is the outside diameter. ID is inside the diameter. OD is outside diameter. Now, this was $28. This was like $4. And I think the test cap was like $3 or $4. And this probably was $9 or $10. Kind of ridiculous that a piece of plastic would be that expensive. It probably shouldn't be. Just that Lowe's can do whatever they want to. What are you going to do? I'll make my own. No. So it doesn't really cost that much. By the way, all your plastics are made by oil. So if you don't want oil, saying I think oil is bad for the environment, well, we're going to go back to making cast iron plumbing. And that's made by, you got to have oil to get the steel out of the ground. So this is an oil-based product, plastic is. Now, I have less than $50 by far in this arrangement. And I got 50 feet too much line.
You don't have to have another, all you gotta get is those things, and then you can do another bottle.
I can have two of them. So what I'll do is, now if you want, I'll show you another scenario. Like when you're doing that benchmark scenario, you can have a great big room. If you put your water level in the center to set your benchmarks, you can, with 100 foot of line, you can do 200-foot room, a 200-foot radius. That's a big room. But in a big wide open room like that, lasers kind of pay off. But if you don't have, if you want to stay simple, then just stay with the water level. All right. Now, this water line, let's see if I can open it up. It's got a it's set in a roll like this. Okay, so it's not a mystery what you're purchasing. You see the size of that line? That's a 1/4 inch ID. All right. And this little barb here will fit very, very tightly in there. And you want it to fit so it will not pull off. A lot of guys like, oh, I'll take a cigarette lighter. Well, I don't have cigarette lighters all over the place. But you will find that it is hard to go in there. You can take a cigarette lighter, melt your line, stick it in, or just work hard, push that barbed fitting, this side right here, into this line right here. All right? That's after you cut it to 50 foot, which is what I recommend. All right? Now, this clear line is clear because we want to be able to see water. Now, I've seen people that use antifreeze and things like that. Kind of hard to see the antifreeze. You can see it, but it's kind of hard. You can just see the water in here, but it's when you're underneath the house, you end up having a real hard time seeing clear water. You can do it. You just have to concentrate harder. I don't want to do all that concentrating. I just want to be able to see it real quickly. And the quickest way that I found was to add food coloring to it. Liquid food coloring is easiest. You can put paste in and then shake it up, and it does the same thing. Food coloring doesn't cost very much. You can get any kind of dark color, which we're looking for green or red, dark blue, dark purple. The little pastel colors really don't do the job. We're trying to get dark colors so we can see it inside this clear line. Okay. Whenever you put the water level up and you're trying to get enough water in this to see if you got it at the right place, and you're running that water in, you are going to find that it will not just run water through this connection in here, it will kind of airlock. And how do you get it to airlock? The quickest way is to take your mouth on the other end of this thing, not the one that's connected here, blow back on it just a little bit, and then it will just come back. It's the weirdest thing ever. But it will then start running. When it does, you got to keep an eye. If your depth is only right here, you got to keep adding water. You don't want to let it get the water level to get below this little fitting, because if you do, you get an air bubble. Now you've got to keep on running it till you get rid of that air bubble. Okay, so you're chasing that water, that colored water. You're watching it, hopefully with some help. If not, you can still watch it, but you got to back and forth. And that water level needs to be down below the height of this, so it will run down. As you're doing it, you literally will see the water run through all of it, and you will notice an air bubble here and there in it, rolling with it quite often. When it starts getting close, you raise up the end of the water level, and you can, I used to use a magnet, and I had drilled a hole through that magnet to wire this hose to that speaker magnet. It became a kind of a nuisance because whenever I'd pull the line back at the end of the day, it would get hung up on everything and magnetized to everything. It worked though, and I may again do something like that in the future. But you got to make it where that magnet will not have anything but directly to that frame, and a lot of times that frame is kind of got rust all over it, so you'll have to put it on there and move it a little bit to make sure it stays, and it will tend to get pulled off. If your knee gets on it, pulls it a little bit, it might pull it off. Now you're starting to see all the problems with using a magnet. You can use a magnet. It is fine. I did it for years. But I found that the easiest way to deal with the water line that is forgiving and it don't fall off so easy is you take this water level line and you slide it above the frame. And you slide it, maybe if there's no, a lot of times on mobile homes, the bottom of that mobile home that holds the insulation is not there anymore because the animals tore it all up. And plumbers come in there and cut it out because it got wet. And so you're like, well, what do I do? You just slide the line over more and it'll be hanging down the other side. You don't care because water in this reservoir is going to find its level. That's what this water level does. The exception to that will be if an air bubble gets in this line, or if you're sitting on it or put your knee on it and pinch it, it changes it. But as long as you got all water, no air bubbles, and not on top of it, it will find the exact same level as the water is inside this right here. I promise you. And you can play with it all you want outside before you actually go under there to mess with it. All right? So I take a gallon jug of cheapy water at Dollar General or wherever store I can find, a grocery store, and I buy some little bit of and I already have some in the truck of food coloring, and I put it in that gallon jug and shake it up, and when it's not dark enough, I put more food coloring in it.
It's because we buy food coloring every time we see it on sale.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, so it can be paste, food coloring, or it can be liquid. Either one will do the job. So now you have a colored line, and you can take it within 100 feet from one end to the other, 50 feet that way, 50 feet that way, 50-foot radius. So your range could be 100 feet from one end over here to that end over there. All right. Now you have the ability to use this water level. And this water level can be used in a wide range of things. And I know that I'm starting, whenever I go down this path, that there's going to be a lot of people that get confused. You can actually set with a water level on the ground. You can set a fall in a slab if you want to pour concrete or set something where it has like a 1-inch fall every 10 feet or whatever fall you want to have. You can set it that way. Now, how? All right. First, let's talk about that we understand what that water level is doing. It's seeking its level. As long as you keep it, and you don't. Now you can change that water level by lowering the water line and let water come out. You do that if you don't have your thumb over it and going from one place to the other. Again, one of the things I used to try was putting an electrical wire nut on it, and that kind of worked. But if you ever made the mistake and if you leak a little bit of water out, now you change the reservoir height, and now you change your height on the other end. So whenever you lose water out, any substantial amount, not a tiny bit, any substantial amount, you change the height in here. So now you got to go back over to where your reservoir is, set your water level again to the height of the bottom of the frame or where you want to go. Now, what I was getting ready to talk about is you don't only have to use it for releveling a single wide or a double wide or anything else underneath the house. You can use it on the outside of the house. So if you don't know, like if you're setting the height of a beam and you want it level no matter what, not just measure off of a deck, but level, you can do that. You do not have to take this to that height. Okay, you can take it up way up there to that height and set every one of them, but it's kind of going to be on top of a ladder or some other kind of thing. But what you can do is set it so that it's at the center of the, and you want to go a certain height. Now you can just measure from that line or that mark that you made where the water level is on every one of those posts and just measure the same amount up. And that's where you're at. But you can also do down. And if you don't have posts, you can do it with a piece of, like, say, a 3-foot piece of wood about so wide. I think on the TikTok live stream, I'll probably actually have a piece of wood in here set that way. Now, what you can do on that is you set your water level at, say, 2 foot above the ground, like on a bench or something. And you've got it set, got to make sure there's no air bubbles in it. Now, you're not going to pour concrete at 2 foot or build a deck at 2 foot. You're going to be down a little bit lower, probably. It's possible that you're at 2 foot. It's possible. But let's say you're going to pour concrete on the floor, down 4 inches thick. So now you've got to measure from your 2 foot area or whatever dimension you are down to that 4-inch area, 3.5 inches, 6 inch if that's what you want. Okay. You don't have to adjust this. Now you need to do from that where the water level is to a certain point. And you can adjust your water level and then tape it to it. It's like, okay, whenever I'm at this line, the bottom of this is at 4-inch or 3.5 inch, whatever it is that you want off the ground. So it's, yes, that line is up here at this height, but the bottom of the stick is where you want it to be. Is that making sense to you? Okay. You take that stick anywhere else on your form and you set your top of your form to that line. Okay. I've done it a bunch of times. Now we're not using a laser again in the daylight, which quite often can be hard to see a laser in the daylight. That's why they have them where they actually make a sound and they have a dark card where that laser will show up. But even then, it's hard to see. Okay, so this you can see. You're holding your stick, which has the bottom of it, the height that you want to be, and you go like, oh, I've just got to come up a little bit. I got to go down a little bit. You have that stick right there. Starting to get it? Okay, you can have the line pretty far up here in case you want to like set the stick down for a minute against something, working by yourself or something like that. You can have that an excess on this water line above that mark where this is at. And the bottom of that little 1x or a little bitty strip of wood, or even a 2x if you want, whatever material you want to use, the bottom of it is your actual height of your form. All right. If you want that form to be lower over there, then you know that, okay, all the way across this side, I'm going to be this at the bottom of this here. I'm going to be an inch or 2 inches lower, 20 feet away. I need to be on that, instead of at that line that we had over here to get that level, I'm going to take it over there, and that line is going to be 2 inches higher than where it was on the other. Okay? I know it'll make more sense once you do it. I promise you. But this right here can help you set forms in the middle of nowhere in the broad daylight. And it costs you, and you can use this over and over again in application after application. I remember in motels, you had metal ceilings, metal stud framed ceilings in the motel. I had to give time for the air conditioning guys, the sprinkler guys, and everybody else to set their material. And then I came in with what we call spaghetti stud, which is 1.5 inch metal stud, hollow metal stud. And I could go in with a shopping cart, set my benchmarks all the way in all these little, if you know how bathroom most motels have, I would set all my benchmarks on the ceiling, measure up to where I know the ceiling would be, benchmark up to that ceiling, and then pop lines. And that's where I set my track for my metal stud. And then I cut my metal stud to fit in that track. Boom. I did that for room after room after room. They were paying me, oh man, this was like 35 years ago, 40 years ago. I might get paid $150, $200 a room, and it would take me an hour and a half. Yeah, I was making solid money on motels for Disney and such as that. Hundreds of them. They didn't really need me to do that. They just said, hey, if you want to, you can, you've caught up on all your, I was a punch out man. So you've caught up on all your punch out. If you want to do some subcontracting, you can do that, because I was way ahead. Sure. So I started doing it. And I'm telling you, it is totally accurate as long as you maintain that there are no air bubbles on your water line. As long as you don't let the water run out and change the level on your reservoir, you will have a very accurate line, a very, very level. I would think you would have to go miles of water line to get it where it would actually change something. I don't think even then. A water level is still going to seek its level. I just don't see anybody using miles of water line. So, with that being said, you can use a water level for a wide range of things. Okay? If you try to practice what I'm talking about, you will notice that you can use it for a bunch of different things, and it will get level. You can literally check floors to see if they're level on top by using that stick method. So, if you want to see if you need to pour thin set on top of a concrete slab, you will find that. All right. If you want to set your upper cabinets to a certain height, you can do that. You don't have to count on the ceiling being the right height, because sometimes a brand new house, the ceiling is not the right height. It's not framed right. The outside framing might be wrong. The rafters might have a gap on top of it, of that double plate. So you can set and make sure it's right. Okay, I've been going on about something that was questioned whether or not I could actually talk that long. I can talk a lot about just about anything. The guy I was working with today was saying, you've always been yappy. I don't know why your son would ever be embarrassed of you, because that's just who you are. There are times when I let other people talk, but I generally have some things that I want to share, and sometimes it's just I want them to feel comfortable. Like this morning, I was talking with a guy who was an engineer for oil fields. And he's now working with creating AI support systems for those oil field guys. The way he talks, the shortages with the people in the field. It's not the computer people that work remotely. There's not any shortage there. The field people are always going to be a shortage. So, and I was talking to him about how I don't feel like that our problems are going to be AI is replacing everybody. I think our problem is going to be that we're not having enough population to maintain the infrastructure. That is, he's part of the infrastructure, by the way, because we have to have oil to make rubber also, plastic, paint, all kinds of chemicals are oil based. We need those kind of people out there, and everywhere you go, there's a shortage. And there's complaints about all these places that are building data centers that they can't get enough electricians. Tens of thousands of electricians short. Well, it was that way before they decided to build. Okay, and we were talking about that. He's like, I've never seen a time when there wasn't a shortage of people out in the field, skilled people. There's not a beginning of, there's not an inkling of any time soon where it will be caught up. It's just not going to happen because we have less and less people being born. Now, I'm going to tell you this too. What I was telling him, there is the average age of the maintenance people now, maintenance being in factories, in companies that maintain, people that work in the field, on oil fields, people that work on anything, maintenance on homes, maintenance on business, maintenance on factories, maintenance out there on oil lines, maintenance. The average age is 55. So in 10 years, as we have less and less people being born, there's going to be a lot of them that retire. Just the infrastructure, that's the roads, the water lines, the sewer treatment plants. Nothing lasts forever. A lot of these bridges were made during the Eisenhower period.
They desperately need to be redone.
Concrete has a lifetime of 80 years. That's if it doesn't have a bunch of cars driving over it. And then it deteriorates. It goes the other direction, if not faster. That's if it's done right. Okay? We are learning how to make things better, but we don't have enough people to do it. And there's never going to be enough robots. It takes 10 years to make a mine. And we have multiple metals that we do not have enough mines to make anywhere near an increase in like electric cars or robots. At some point, we need to use the common sense. We were talking about that. And this is an intelligent guy. And then I will go to the next place. And this is a real estate guy. And, he doesn't want to hear that because he's counting on the real estate constantly selling. But the reality of it is, we don't have a housing shortage. We have a housing shortage because people don't want to work on anything. They want a brand new home. These young people who are trying to get started or cannot afford a brand new home. Well, why are they trying to get into a brand new home? What they need to do is get a home that they can work on. There's lots of them.
They don't know how.
So, like in Oklahoma, I promise you, if I get on Facebook, I'll find a bunch of houses out there that are really dilapidated, but you can get them for $15,000 with the land and all the utilities on them. It's amazing.
And frequently outbuildings.
We already have these houses, which are infrastructure deteriorating. Okay. Everything we have to maintain. If we don't, relationships, homes, cars, everything is going to have to be maintained. It can't just sit there and survive. 300 years from now, if man is not here maintaining everything, 300 years from now, there won't be much but glass, maybe some concrete,
To show that
the pyramids. Yeah. It's going to disappear. So we're in a constant struggle to maintain what we have and then grow. All right. That's why cities have like a Ponzi scheme going on. They literally rely on new homes coming in and new taxes, but they can't. The old, like Detroit, Chicago, New York, all those places can't maintain what they have. It deteriorates. They can't maintain all the infrastructure because it's based on growth. So we don't have growth because we don't have enough people being born. We don't have enough people that want to be tradesmen. And we don't pay the tradesmen enough to keep tradesmen or to, we can't totally rely on people from other countries to do all the trades. They're going to go home at some point. They're going to take the wealth that they made here and disappear. A large chunk of them. You don't blame them. That's where they came from. They're going to go back. Now, we need to maintain what we have. And that's what this channel is about. Repair. Maintenance of every kind. And I just wanted to share with you guys what I learned along the way. And this is just one of the many, many tools that I have to use. And I just thought I would share it with you. All right, I'm going to let you go. See you another time. I know I'm rattling on. You guys are always welcome to interrupt, but I'm going to rattle if you let me. See you later. We're going to be there on TikTok tomorrow at 10 p.m.